Welcome to No Movies in Hell. I'm Chris Geiger.
I'm LaCroix Scott, and today we are reviewing the Banshees of Inisherin
Sharon.
Inisherin. There we go. I'm like, I knew that I was not pronouncing one of those I's there. Inisherin.
I need to do more research on a lot of his things are named after places, like
Yes.
Lieutenant of Inishmore, I think. There's one, the Beauty Queen of Leenane, 3 Billboards over Billings, Montana, or 3 Billboards has a location in it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's Billings, but
In Bruges.
In Bruges. Right. 7 Psychopaths does not. So not
Yeah.
everything does. There's a Behanding in Spokane. Pillowman does not. So yeah, let's talk about the experience of the movie. First, we sat really close because we thought it might possibly be a Q&A opportunity.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we were in the 3rd row. I would normally purchase seats further back. And it was funny, while we were sitting there waiting for the movie to start, I could hear people talking behind us. And this woman came in and sat next to her friend. And she said, "Why did you get seats so far forward?"
Yeah. I think everybody thought the same thing.
Right.
Potential Q&A. AMC, do better with your website and app.
With your listings, right? We want to support you. I bought tickets to the 6:45 and the 7:45 just in case it was going to be one of those, and I didn't want to sell out before I could figure out which one it was, and it turned out to be not either of them, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been fun to have a Q&A after the film, but
What were your overall impressions?
I liked
before
it.
You say that, before, like, going into it, did
Going
you
in,
like it? Because I know you've seen some of his Broadway stuff.
yes.
I saw
The Cripple of Inishmaan,
the Hangmen,
the Hangman, Pillowman, and then 3 Billboards. I've seen in Bruges. I think I've seen 7 Psychopaths. I think I have. I didn't have anything going in other than kind of the trailer. So knowing the base of what's going on about this character's friendship, and then just curious to see what was going to happen. So it was a little anxiety inducing for me, because it was one of those films like you couldn't guess what was going to happen, really. So you just had to like follow along, and you didn't. There are so many things where you thought, for me, I was like, oh, is something going to happen here? Like bad, or because it just seemed like, one, it's a lot of solitude. They're on an island. It's in the 1920s, and there's a lot of things going on at a macro level, but it's very, very local story, and I appreciated it. What about you? What were your first impressions?
So the first impressions, I have a halo effect around anything that he does, because I like his plays, I like his movies. I think, at this point, whatever he does and puts out there, I'm gonna watch. I knew I wanted to see Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell. The cast for this was also very promising, because they're reuniting from In Bruges. We know that was a great movie. Brendan Gleeson, I love anyway. I think he does really interesting things. And here's a fun fact. So Martin McDonagh's brother is also a screenwriter, playwright.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
It's in the family.
They're a very talented family. And Brendan Gleeson has been in movies for him as well.
Oh.
And the one that I didn't realize this until somebody told me a while ago, but there's a movie called, I think it's called CalGary, with Brendan Gleeson, and he plays the lead character, and he's a priest in that. And it's so good. And when I was talking to somebody about it, they were like, "Oh, did you know that's Martin McDonagh's brother who wrote it?" It's like, I had no idea. So he works with that family very well.
Oh, that's very cool.
So I recommend, if you have a chance to see that one. It's very much in this sort of similar vein of this movie. So going in, I was hopeful that it was going to be awesome. I loved 3 Billboards. The cast was very promising for that too. Frances McDormand, Sam Rockwell, Woody Harrelson. I like all of those people. But this definitely seemed, from the trailer at least,
Yeah.
the quieter movie.
Yes.
It seems like it's more like his plays than any of his other movies have been.
Very true. Of the 3 or 4 other films I've seen, I would have to agree. Yes.
Yeah. So what did you think after you saw it or while you were watching it?
I really like the story. The premise is very fresh. Like I've never seen anything like that. It's like, I was kind of on the edge of my seat. Like, where is this gonna go? Like, are they gonna be friends again? Are they not? Is someone gonna die? Like, what's going on? And I really liked it a lot. It is kind of sad film from like an emotional standpoint, but like also it's just two extremes. It makes you think that sometimes friendship is not a one-sided thing and there's unintended consequences that really push people over the edge. And I just thought it was really great storytelling. And to your point, like it could be a play. There were lots of the dialogue was great, lots of funny bits there too. What were your thoughts as going in, or not going in, but watching the film and the takeaways?
So I love the dialogue, the back and forth. I thought that a couple of this exchanges really reminded me of other things. So the exchanges in the bar where you've got the two guys, the barkeep and the guy who's sitting in the bar, and they just repeat each other back
Yes.
and forth, like hush now, right? Like everything the bartender says, the other guy says. I thought that was very, very similar to scenes in the Hangman. I really like that. I thought some of the exchanges were hilarious when they have Dominic over to dinner and
Oh
Dominic
yes.
says touche, and then you
Yes.
can see Colin Farrell's character going, oh, this is the dumbest guy in the town and he knows a word I don't know.
Yes.
And I also I felt like the side characters were fleshed out really well. Like the old woman in the town, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
awesome. The little scene where he about the bread cart, and he's like, if it's the same bread cart guy, I'm gonna kill him.
Yes.
That was great. Like they're just those little surprises that were awesome.
Yes.
I thought the characters that the animals played, like the animals were
Oh,
their own characters. Jenny was her
the
own
donkey.
character. The dog was its own character.
Yes.
It was. I thought that was. I included that in my acting criteria when I was like thinking about each category. It's like, the animals were really great actor and added a lot to it. I thought it was great. I loved it actually. I wouldn't say it's his best film. I think Billboards for me is still his best. But it certainly met my expectations of something great. And I would probably see it again in the theater just so I can get back away from the screen.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
take it all in because he does have these big sweeping
Yes.
sort of panoramic views of Inisherin and the cliffs and the water. And I don't feel like I was able to really appreciate those as close as we were.
Oh, I 100% agree. I was at some point I was like trying to lean as far back as I could, without like interrupting the experience for the person behind me. I really loved like setting the stage of this is what it looks like. This is what the island looks like. It's so green and so beautiful. And I think in the first shot, I was like, oh, is that a painting? And maybe it will be zoomed out, but it was like, no, this is the island. And I think when we were leaving, I had mentioned, I wonder if this like draws tourism to like these the islands. So people get to experience, I guess just the scenery and like the everyday life and how close everybody is. Even the woman that works at the post office is just like, she's the busybody. She wants people's news and she opens people's mail.
Right. I definitely feel like I would want to stop if I could, like if I were going to Ireland and I could make a stop in Inisherin for a day, like I totally would do that. I feel that way about every movie that I watch. So like if you watch a Bond movie and they're in like wherever, Mexico City, I want to
Yeah.
Mexico City, it looks amazing. It
Yes.
doesn't look like that when you get there.
You're like, you have to be there for specific events.
Right. But it definitely it does draw attention to that. Like Jurassic Park World Dominion, there's a scene
Mm.
in Malta. Now I want to go to Malta.
Yeah.
So let's go to the slides.
Yeah.
So 25, even though, it's probably one of my favorite movies so far this year. And now we're
Ooh.
into late October, but it's still only down at 25. And
Yeah.
I think it's just the way we have the categories broken out.
Yes, I completely agree. Because I was thinking, like, as I was reading this, I'm like, jewelry, maybe not. And hair and makeup was very subtle for the time. I mean, I thought it was good and reflective, but I think these categories are for things that are more like more ostentatious and more like vibrant and but yeah, I think it's a very decent film and I would definitely recommend to friends and family. I really enjoyed it.
The jewelry I did like her brooches, the
Mhm.
brooches that she had on her coat. I thought that was very appropriate and for the time and like the type of life that she would live, the lifestyle that she would
Yes.
have. Soundtrack, I gave it 3 because I didn't realize until the credits were rolling by, Brendan Gleeson actually wrote and performed the
Oh.
Banshees of Inisherin, that song that he was working on in the movie. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna give that a 3 now.
Nice. I had no idea. I was like, oh, maybe someone like historical figure, created a song. No, I guess it was him, but it's good.
Yeah. Also, the guy who played Dominic,
Yes.
we saw him in Eternals. We saw him in
Yes.
The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think the first time I ever saw him was in The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and he was like so disturbing in that
Yeah.
movie. And I feel like in other things I've seen him in since then, he always plays like a little bit off on the disturbing side of things. But in this one, I really felt like, oh, I could watch him in other things now and
Yes.
not get
Yeah.
that sort of past impression that I have had of him. Yes, good for Barry.
I recognized him from the Eternals, and I guess he's in the new Batman series.
Oh,
He's the new Joker in this Robert Pattinson Batman universe.
oh, okay.
So he had like a tiny, like less than a minute screen time in the Batman.
When is the next Batman coming out?
Oh, I don't know if it's like next year or the year after next, but there definitely is going to be a sequel.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share about this movie or?
Yeah, I guess my closing thoughts are, I guess it's interesting. I think Colin Farrell's like a decent this is the film for me that solidified like Colin Farrell's a decent actor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't know why it took me so long. And maybe I don't see very many films with him in it. I just remember like at the height of the early 2000s, like he was just like, oh, he's so cute and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen him act in anything. It's just he was a celebrity. And now I feel like, I saw the Batman, he was Penguin. And I was like, and then with this movie, I was like, oh, he's an interesting character. Like he plays an interesting character. Like, oh, I think he's more of an like actor,
Hmm.
instead of like a celebrity, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it was like, okay, I think that he's actually a decent actor.
I agree. When he first came on, like out, like he was famous for being famous and good looking and who he was dating and like what he
Yeah.
was wearing. And I actually don't remember seeing any of his early work, but when I saw him in Bruges,
Hmm.
that's when I was like, oh, he's like very talented. And maybe people don't see that because he's famous for being famous, not famous
Hmm.
for being talented,
Yes.
which is unfortunate because I'm sure
Yeah.
he works really hard at it. Colin Farrell. I would see anything that he was in these days too. Like
Yeah.
there are just certain people now, and I feel like it's almost back to the old like where actors were in studio contracts for like X
Yes.
number of films and people would go because this is a movie that has Mae West in it or this is a
Hmm.
right like and it doesn't matter what the movie is, they
Yes.
would go see it. And I feel like that was an older way of kind of watching things but maybe it's just an older person way of watching things, because as I get older, I find myself more attached to certain actors and feeling like, oh, I want to see what they're doing. Like Gabriel
Yeah,
Byrne
yeah.
is doing something on Broadway right now.
Mhm.
I really want to see that. Like I would go see anything that he was in just because I think he's really good. Brendan Gleeson, Alex Fern, like all those guys, character actors, would love to support them in whatever they're doing.
Yeah. No, I don't think that, I guess that way of viewing art, it has gone away. I think that it's still alive. I mean, it's still active today. Like the new Viola Davis movie. Doesn't matter what she's in, you're gonna go see it. Or, Samuel L. Jackson, doesn't matter. You're gonna go see that film. And I think like even Brendan Gleeson, like he's been in a ton of really great either indie films or films that like really stood out. Like he's in Paddington too. And it's like that's my reference for him. I'm like, oh, he's in Paddington too. Oh yeah, and he's in Bruges. Oh yeah, and he's in Harry Potter. Oh yeah, and he's in this. So yeah.
I still have not seen Paddington 2. Well, I haven't seen Paddington.
Oh my
So
god.
I know it's on my list.
Yeah.
The list is getting longer. It's weird because I feel like the more movies I watch, the more movies I have on my list to watch.
Same. I have so many. That one just kind of creeped up as word of mouth of like through friends of you have to see this movie. Like
Yeah.
like, oh, my kid wanted to see this movie. I saw it too. And then I ended up really liking it, and you have to see this movie. So
I have a friend who watches all the kids' movies. And she's not ever talked about Paddington 2. I'm gonna have to bring that up with her.
like, did you see Paddington too?
Right, because she's mostly a Disney movie person.
Okay.
So maybe that one slipped by her, but I'm sure that if it's like as highly recommended as it is, that
Yeah.
she needs to see this. It needs to be on her radar too. Do you have anything to plug?
Well, we're gonna do the Halloween episode very soon. Yeah, I don't have anything else to plug. How about you?
I don't. Well, so Decision to Leave will be an iHeart Korean movie. I just haven't posted it yet, but that's coming up this week. It's there are not a lot of seats. It's a small theater that it's in, and it's not in very many screens. It's at Kips Bay and at Times Square. So
Oh, AMC.
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's out in like Angelica and like the
Yeah.
indie theaters too. But for iHeart Korean movies, I like the theaters where people can get to them easily. Like Times
Mhm.
Square is the best one because
Yes.
everyone can get there pretty easily. That'll be Wednesday, I think, of this coming week. So hopefully I get this episode edited and posted before that so that people can hear about it this way as well.
Nice.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. See you next time.
See you next time.